Somebody get him a therapy llama. The GOP primaries barely gotten started, and the liberal media is already freaking out over every candidate that declares. Ron DeSantis is the latest public enemy #1 after kicking off his first rally in Iowa. The Florida governor taking it to Joe Biden and his other Republican rivals. Listen.
We must restore sanity to our nation. We in the state of Florida held the line when freedom hung in the balance. Leadership is not about entertainment. It's not about building a brand. It's not about virtue signaling. It is about results. If we get distracted, if we allow the election to become about other things other than Biden's failures, if he's able to hibernate in his basement for the whole campaign and not have to answer tough questions, well, then we may be in danger of seeing a Democrat sweep in 2024.
Now, do you remember when the media compared Donald Trump to Hitler? Yeah, well, somehow Ron DeSantis is worse.
Presidential candidate and toy-sized Mussolini, Ron DeSantis, unveils his authoritarian manifesto. There is a model for what this little dictator in the making wants to do. Just look at China, Cuba, North Korea, Afghanistan, or Iran.
His candidacy is based on grievance politics, divisiveness, and extreme policies.
Trump and DeSantis are both anti-democratic candidates. They seek to be leaders of autocratic movements.
And if you think that's bad, The View's co-host, Sunny Hostin, says, hold my beer, and is literally claiming Republican women can't think for themselves.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
So first of all, Judge, thank you for protecting the patriarchy.
Yes.
On behalf of all men, we really appreciate that.
You know what's stunning? I love it when a woman says she knows how other women think, okay? And I hate it when they actually do a divide like that. But, you know, if Sunny Hostin thinks that we're all protecting white men and the white patriarchy and that we can't think for ourselves, I wonder why it is that she is capable of thinking for herself. But I'm not going to go there. The amazing thing is you have to wonder, well, then how did Barack Obama get elected twice? So I guess those white women, just when they see a black person who's qualified, I mean, they clearly elected Barack Obama. It didn't happen without white women. So right there is the failure of her whole theory. But the thing about the left is they are so hate-filled. I mean, DeSantis is a Mussolini. They talk about him like he's like China, Cuba, North Korea. Government-censored media is what Joy Reid says. Are you kidding? Government-censored media is when the FBI meets with Twitter and says, don't you dare put anything in there about that Russian disinformation, that Hunter Biden laptop. I mean, they are so dug in on hating when they created the hate, when it all started with Hillary Clinton and the basket of deplorables. And then it goes to the disgusting MAGA. I mean, MAGA anymore has a negative connotation thanks to Joe Biden and his blood red background and the people with the guns. I mean, they are just, after a while, you don't listen to them. And by the way, they're not using Hitler anymore. It's now Mussolini. Oh, great.
I guess that's an Italian shot. As a Democrat, do you think Ron DeSantis is more or less dangerous than Donald Trump?
I don't think of him, and I don't think of it in that frame. I agree with you, Judge. I was a little concerned by the language that that Sonny used around that. My wife is white and I'm black. I hope she roots for me. I hope she's at home rooting for me. I'd say a couple of things about about Mr. DeSantis. He has not presented well, I don't think, in the first 2 weeks. I viewed him as a Democrat in some ways, maybe how some Republicans thought about Barack Obama in a way. They may not have been for him, but there was something interesting about him. There was something refreshing about the candidacy. And he presented, I thought, well, I think a lot of Democrats, I'm one of them, thought DeSantis would present better at the start. He's come out and at the very beginning said he wants to do away with the left, or he's gonna really get the left in check. That's half the country. He's come out and said he's going to arrest teachers who teach certain books or who have certain books in their class. I'm not going to understand. He's saying I don't want certain books, but arresting teachers I think is nuts. And exacting revenge on companies who you have a different political view with. I mean, you may be running in the wrong country. There's nothing wrong with saying, I have a set of ideas and I want the country to embrace my ideas, but be serious about it. And I'm hoping that's where he finds himself at some point, because if he is the nominee, I think both parties have to have strong nominees for the country to have a serious choice and be able to make a serious choice. And thus far, I've been a little disappointed.
Well,
I wouldn't call him toy-sized Mussolini, all that kind of stuff, but I have been disappointed in how he's presented so far.
What happens if Joe Biden arrests Donald Trump? Is that okay?
You and I have had this conversation. I think if there's not facts, of course not.
Okay.
Of course not.
So Harold doesn't think DeSantis is fresh enough, Dana.
Big enough and serious enough, I mean.
Tall enough?
Okay, refreshing.
No,
He doesn't find him
I'm not talking
refreshing
at all about size. I'm talking about the seriousness
Well,
of his
but so
ideas.
Harold is a Democrat, and he's probably not going to vote for Ron DeSantis anyway. So, but that's not the contest right now. The contest is amongst Republican primary voters. So, and they'll decide if Ron DeSantis is fresh enough for them or what they want to do. I mean, right now, Donald Trump has such a commanding lead over all of them that this is just really getting started. The campaign kickoff for Ron DeSantis was yesterday. And so I do think that with like Sunny Hostin under the View, all of them actually, that montage we showed, their absurdity strengthens the Republicans at this point. Because Republicans are like, oh yeah, you've been saying that about us. And I think ever since I got into politics, since 1995, as I recall, Democrats have been saying this about Republican women. So they just never change. It's not, talk about not fresh. They got nothing else. And so they don't want to defend their policies. So what they try to do is to make the other team more toxic and just hope that nobody will look at their policies and that they'll vote based on that. And they had some success with that in 2022, but the Republicans now have an opportunity to continue on. But I would also say to all of them, our poll shows, and I think all the polls, inflation and immigration, these are the two top issues for Republican voters, and you still have not heard a lot about that on the trail so far.
No, you've heard a lot about Disney and things like that, but Greg, do you also think it's strange that on MSNBC, they'll call a Republican primary candidate Mussolini, but on Fox, if you have Marianne Williamson or you have RFK Jr., we actually invite them on the shows and ask them legitimate questions.
Yeah, I think, we have our own kind of way of demonizing, but we don't do it the way we'll say.
We
like
do it tastefully.
Tastefully, I think we're very low key in demonizing people. We'll say you smack of socialists, but we won't call you Hitler. But we go like, But it is nice. I do think it's refreshing that they've moved on from Hitler. They probably had a morning meeting. They probably had like Pol Pot. No, not enough people know who Pol Pot is. Mao. Well, he's kind of short, so maybe Mussolini was tall, and that's why they said pint-sized Mussolini. The point is. People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
I follow.
Yes, very much so. I think Republicans have to ask themselves, who do the Dems want to run against, and why aren't they saying so? Because I think that's going to be the hardest question for the Republicans right now. You might know that the guy you love has the primary in the bag because there's no primary or whatever, but why aren't people going after the other guy as much? I don't know. This is the things I'm thinking about while I'm watching this, knowing that every single Republican is going to have a rough ride, because that road is going to be paved with demonization, Hitler comparisons, Mussolini comparisons, the coming apocalypse, death, chaos, destruction. Doesn't matter who it is. So while Donald Trump, and I've said this before, maybe a 2-hour drive to an hour at the beach, it's going to be like that with all of them. DeSantis, it might be 90-minute drive to a half an hour at the beach. Either way, it's going to be no day at the beach for anybody. So Republicans need to match it and be as fiery and as aggressive as they are, because they're coming for the necks.
Right, and just demonize tastefully.
Demonize tastefully.
With class.
Yes, exactly.
Not clumsy like they do over there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.